Welcome to Above the Garage.
Hi, friends. Welcome to our discussion of the Veil finale. Let's do our round of introductions and dive in.
Hi, I'm Julia.
Hi, I'm Megan.
Hi, I'm Rachel.
Hi, I'm Kimberly.
And I'm Kate. The finale kicks off with an aerial shot of a highway and a caption telling us we're in Canterbury, England now, a long way from Paris. But it's actually not that far. I looked it up. It's about a 5 to 6 hour drive. And they seem to be getting along again. Last we saw them at the gas station. I assumed they were the car that we saw on the road at first, but in fact they're riding inside of a truck, seemingly having bummed a ride from a Good Samaritan. Oh, not a Good Samaritan after all. He hops in with them and unzips so as to collect the payment for the ride, just before Imogen pops him in the face with a pipe. It was Imogen in the lorry with a lead pipe. And now Imogen's driving the truck. There's a helicopter in the air, so I guess the driver came to sooner than she expected. They pulled their giant truck over to ditch it right in the middle of Canterbury, which looks to be a very cute town. And they head off in separate directions in the hopes of losing whoever's tailing them.
Did they just throw him out of the truck?
Yeah.
But wouldn't it have been smarter to just
Keep their car?
no, just like leave him in the truck,
In the back of
where,
the truck.
yeah, where they were staying, like, and take his phone. Like, how did he contact someone?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of questions I had here, actually. Like, I guess if their car had been made, like if somebody had spotted their license plate or something, I can see them ditching that car from the last episode. But this also created a new complication with an eyewitness who spotted where they were and was able to give descriptions of them so that everybody, like DGSE, knew where they were, and then it tracked them from there.
Yeah, I mean, they must have thought they were going to be tracked in the car. I can't remember where they got the car, so they must have done something right because France's surveillance screens from the helicopter have now all gone blank. Magritte's asking MI5 for surveillance camera access, and this is when he says England is the most surveilled country in the world, which surprised me. 1 camera for every 20 citizens. Magritte says they have something better than face recognition, but I didn't understand what he meant exactly. He just says Imogen, and then they find her.
He means Malik.
Ah, okay.
The man who loves her, he can spot her in a second.
Yeah.
Although it didn't seem to work.
He pointed her out then, but then it goes blank again, so.
Yeah, the angle changed.
And then he lost her, I guess.
Imogen tries on a new American accent and kind of creepy voice to borrow a cell phone from Dallas cowboy-loving American tourist. At least she didn't try her southern accent with him. Anyway, it works. He's hesitant, but he gives her the phone, and she calls someone who is not Malik, because Malik is currently fighting with Max, first verbally, and then they resort to pushing each other, and then a little wrestling. These two really bring out the best in each other. While they wrestle, I think Imogen's found on the screen.
No, she slips away, I think.
Did you say that she didn't call Malik?
Yeah, she did not call Malik. She called
So I
Michael.
do think that she did.
Oh, I thought she called Michael.
I have this note.
So I think Yulia and I are thinking the same thing, because I think she called Malik, and I think that the tuffle was a diversion deliberately that Malik did to draw the eyes away from the screen, because everybody's eyes are drawn away. You can see her walking on the screen, and then they miss her.
It was a diversion to get Max. Everybody's like is not watching at the screens, focused on their argument.
I like that.
I'm still wondering if she did call Malik or if he did it, if he clocked it.
It was perfect timing if he just did it on his own.
I personally think it was literally just perfect timing because he was so sick of Max.
Yeah.
Call it like I like the
Coincidentally.
dynamic, like eat a bag of French dicks, and then he's like, rugby tackles him. I mean, I would like the other scenario because that's kind of cute, but
I don't know. I think that's what happened. He has her back, and he's always the one who's trying to get them to just let her do her thing, which is why it made sense to me that he would agree to do it.
I don't think, though, I think then you don't see her ever calling Michael. Like, that's the only phone call she makes, and we know that the chauffeur comes and picks her up. And yes, it could happen off screen.
That didn't feel like a plot hole to me, though. Like, that still tracked for me.
I'm not, like, criticizing it. I'm just, that's why I don't think she called Millie.
oh, she definitely called Michael on the cell phone. Yeah, definitely.
I would also say she called
think.
probably Michael and
Yeah, it wasn't Malik.
set up a
definitely
date in
not.
London, like where she needs to be picked up and stuff like this.
Yeah. It wasn't Malik.
I'm still with Rachel on this, that I think like Malik did it on purpose.
But you don't think that she called him with the cell phone? You think she called Michael?
I think she called Michael, yeah.
Yeah, she called Michael. But he was trying to divert from seeing her on the screen. Or
Malik also hates, like maybe not hates, but he hates hates Max, but he hates that the Americans are involved into this. And as soon as Max stepped into this room and has access to the surveillance they are using, he knew that, oh my God, he will spot her. I need to come up with something to get her more time to get to Adilah, you know?
Meanwhile, in Canterbury, Imogen makes her way into the beautiful cathedral and miraculously correctly identifies the easiest mark merely by scanning the backs of everyone sitting in the pews. She convinces the woman with a sob story about a woman beaten by soldiers and abandoned with nobody in the world. Imogen doesn't even hide her cat that ate the canary face when she realizes the woman bought it hook, line, and sinker. And next thing we see, the woman is letting them out of her car. And they're in London now.
They're also in Whitechapel, which is historically where Jack the Ripper committed his murders in 1888.
Interesting.
I think like she chose that woman because she was sitting in front, very close to the altar, and she was all alone.
Yeah.
And she was a woman too. Like this is like, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't notice the other options. Maybe she's the only one alone, but that's a good point that she's sitting in the front too.
she looked like she was really focused on being present and God and prayer. And so I think she knew she could manipulate that. So she scanned that and was like, this lady's basically speaking in tongues. I'm going to go sit by her and manipulate
Use God.
her.
Right.
Use God. Yep.
Imagine the coincidence of this woman being like, yes, I don't know. I'm sorry. I just hated it.
I get it. I get where you're going. You're like, that is a little too, would that really happen? Probably not.
Go break into a car, hot wire it, babe.
Yeah, she's supposed to be the best spy in the world, and that's my problem. I think that's one of my problems, like overall, I think, is that they keep telling you this. I hate when they tell you something, but you don't see it.
Show it.
And I'm like, there just aren't many things that she does that are like, wow, she's a good spy.
Right.
It's kind of the opposite. She's, getting drunk and I don't know, not stealing cars. So yeah,
I mean, if she steals a car, it will be reported immediately.
I don't know though. I mean, you can go into a parking lot. Somebody that might be at work parked for 8 hours. They might not know for a few hours that their car is missing. I mean, if I was a spy.
Yeah, I have more of a problem with the whole speech she gives.
Yeah, I didn't like the speech.
Like the I'm doing God's work thingy, or like let's do God's work.
She could have just asked the woman for a ride, probably, and it would have been like, yeah, sure, without the dramatic sob story and like, I hate when instead of asking, you're like, if only I had a car.
I know.
Dropping that little hint and then, really? What would you? Yes, this is what I can do.
Yeah, I don't know if people, I mean, are they that easy to manipulate and gullible?
Not me. If somebody sat down and gave me that exactly as she said it, like I'd be out of there. There's something very like
I would be very suspicious.
There's so many red flags.
It would be something there's a plan here. There's a plot here. Maybe they're gonna steal my car. Maybe they're gonna, I wouldn't immediately be so charitable, but maybe that's just me.
She also came up with that story, which I'm not sure was what Imogen really thinks about Adilah, or if it was just made up, because this was also really strange to me, like the cutting to Adilah while she was telling the story, and it's like, is she really believing that she's the victim here, and you know, like just a victim and needs to be saved, and she's a refugee that desperately needs our help, and I just cut out all the past.
Like, I think the show is definitely trying to make us sympathize with Adilah, and that's controversial in my opinion. But anyway, I was gonna say though quickly that the other problem I had with her speech was like the way she launched into it. I literally didn't know what she was talking about. I don't understand how that woman like knew what she was talking about.
I know.
Like,
you'd be like, what are you rambling on about?
Yeah,
what woman?
Even knowing like about the show and everything I've watched, I still didn't understand like what she was saying or what she was getting at. So I'm like, how would a stranger know what the hell you're talking about? It's just weird. Max maligns the French a bit more on his way out the door, heading to a flight to London. He hates their city. Their technology is 20 years behind. And when it seems like he's about to add another insult to the list, he instead admits, I like your food. Very kind of him.
But controversial.
Yes.
The food is controversial.
I don't know if, like, who of you have been to France, but
I like the food. I think universally that France is like thought their food is thought well of now.
I mean, yeah, like in the haute cuisine, like in the, you know, the techniques they developed are like the highest class, like especially when you have like sauce and stuff like this. This takes days to
yeah, the sauces are really good. Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, but I love Josh Charles as Max, and Dolly Bensallah plays Malik really well too. One of my favorite parts in this whole episode is they're teaming up, but we'll get there. First, Imogen and Adilah are by the Tower Bridge in the Tower of London, and Imogen has a plan. She wants to mislead everyone, so she's chosen an ATM equidistant from 2 train stations in the hopes of distracting the police by making them shut down all the stations on both lines, 736 stations, while they're heading in a different direction entirely in reality. Everyone gets their notifications, as she's planned, and everyone hightails it to central London, while she's picked up in a car by a chauffeur announcing, welcome to the deep state to Adilah. They are indeed heading to Michael's. We'd mentioned in the last episode, I think, that we hoped he was in this episode, though I might regret that now. He's extra gross. But having just been on a vacation there, it was nice to see the Tower Bridge. It's so pretty. That whole area is just really cool. And Canterbury is like a cute little town, the cathedral, everything is just really, beautiful.
I guess her plan was, I guess, a pretty good one, with using the card so that they can spot her location, and then that distracts them for a while.
Equally, I think that everyone that's ever worked with her should know she's not using an ATM at this moment.
If she's doing it deliberately,
exactly.
She's probably doing it for another reason.
That's what I got. I'm like, they know she's smarter than that. That if she didn't want to be caught or create a diversion, she wouldn't do it.
I would have liked to see a conversation like that, or an exchange saying that maybe, or like why would she use her card? She's smarter than that, like you just said.
Yeah.
So I mean, we know that Malik probably wants her to get away.
Yeah, so he wouldn't call out.
So he would not call it out. Yeah, and the others were just like kind of glad. Oh, she maybe ran out of money.
How convenient.
Can't use the trains at this point anymore.
Yeah.
And everyone else sort of underestimates her, I guess. At least that's what
apparently.
He says. Max does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Max went to the airport before that happened, right?
He was at the airport and he got the notice that she was in London, and he smiled. So he was already on his way there anyway.
I think so. And then he looked really happy when he saw the notification.
Yeah, like he's ahead of everyone. Yeah, like I'm going to beat you.
Right. Imogen then gives Adilah a lot of top secret information. Michael was MI6, but now he operates on an even deeper level. He conducts non-attributable operations off the books. And he's English rich. Imogen tells Adilah he'll give her a new identity. Do you guys think she actually believes that he didn't know everything about Adilah and everything going on already at that point, before she finds the facts and all that?
I think she knew that he knew everything already.
Okay. So she's...
But I don't think she clocked that he was
tracking her every movement.
Yeah.
Right. No, because she was counting on him to get the new identities, because when she calls somebody later, she's like, we can't count on him anymore.
She didn't realize what she was going to discover necessarily after, and why he wouldn't. Yeah.
We were talking when we had the discussion of episode 4, I think, and she found this, like, she found out her father was a traitor, and that her father called his protege, like Michael, a comrade, that she was already suspectful of him. So when she met him at that entrance, she was already playing a part.
I think she wasn't going in blind at all.
No, she had high expectations to get everything out of him, like every puzzle piece she was missing.
I dislike her personality around him, though.
Yeah.
I hope it's an act, but I'm curious if it is that similar to how she used to be around him.
I don't know if it was an act, because she seemed like that's how it was for them,
right, which is so gross. He's so condescending.
And he has a hold on her. He had a hold on her.
She's affected by him, but what I was taking from it was that she was drawing on the real feelings, but to use them to manipulate him. But at the same time, she's mixed with all these like complicated feelings because she knows it was bad. She knows it was toxic. And if you've ever been in just one of those bad, swirlingly toxic relationships where there's a kind of love involved, but it's probably not a healthy love, then that's what makes it so complicated. So when I was seeing what looked like maybe residual feelings, I was like, there's probably something there, but I was seeing like I don't know, like an 80-20 split of like disgust and a little bit of love. I don't know. It wasn't like,
well, it is definitely a complicated relationship where he's like the guardian / lover. It's definitely not your typical relationship. He has some hold on her, also like a parental figure. I think it was a power imbalance, and she was caught up in that. And when you're young, maybe that's appealing. And in hindsight, you're like, gross. You know what I mean? When you really look back.
Plus, she's found a better guy. Yeah. I like Malik a lot better than this guy.
But he definitely had a hold on her. He was like a parental figure, the one, like he was, you know, her mentor. He trained her.
Right. He was her guardian. He
was everything to her in every way for a while.
She said, he made me who I am today. Like, she does attribute some of that to him.
Mm-hmm. As you said, like a lot of conflicting emotions when they meet, because like as you guys just said, they had like this romantic relationship at some point, and then she found out this kind of things that put him in a different light, and her father as well. She
needs him to think too that there's maybe still hope there, so that she can pull him in and manipulate him at all. Otherwise, if he instantly clocks that she feels nothing but disgust for him, and then he's not gonna play.
Exactly.
I think if she loved him too, which I think she definitely did. I mean, they had a kid together, but it's also easy when you're in that to fall back into that. So like she could just be thinking like, oh yeah, like he's not the person I thought he was. And then also like when you're near someone.
Yeah, it falls apart. Yep. It all goes out the window.
Yep.
Anyway, when she called him, she tells Adilah, Michael replied in creepy Shakespearean, come, 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 the game had begun. A quote from Hamlet, God hath given you one face, and you maketh yourself another, and another, and another.
So I tried to, the second line about the face, and you make yourself another, is definitely from Hamlet. I couldn't find the one she said before. From Hamlet, the come, come, come could have been from it is Shakespeare. It could have been from the Merry Wives of Windsor, or also it was in Macbeth. It's also very generic. Did you get it as game had begun? How did you read that? I was having a hard time picking that one up.
Yeah, I just wrote the game had begun. So I don't know.
Because I couldn't find that one. The only place I could find that was in War and Peace. So I just thought that was interesting that there was a Hamlet in there, but the first two were not. But anyway.
Back in London, I presume, Malik lets himself into an apartment, and when he gets to the bedroom, he looks so sad. Poor puppy dog. As he walks to the house, we actually see some of the flashbacks I thought belonged to her and Michael probably, actually belong to her and Malik. But then he's quite turned off when he finds sheet music dedicated to V from Michael. So someone in this group in the second episode predicted her real name was Violet or Viola.
It was Megan.
Yes, it was me.
On the way back down the stairs, Malik senses another presence or sees some evidence of someone in the house and pulls his gun, now walking around the house with the gun in the lead until he's tackled by none other than Max. Max accuses him of breaking in illegally, and Malik surprises him by having something better than permission to break in, an actual key. Malik has an idea where Imogen will be, and Malik is very tired of Max underestimating her. Max can go with him, but he's not telling him where they're going so that the Americans can fly in and fuck it up with their stereotypical loud bullshit.
Malik is excessively trusting of her abilities of what she does, but to be honest, so far I haven't really seen it.
I know. Again, it's just they keep telling you that instead of showing you.
He must have been really impressed with her before. Yeah. Like there must have been a case he worked with her on, or maybe just observed of her, and he's seen it before. He's seen the fact that she can do the things that they say that she can do.
They should have made a show out of that case.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or just put in flashbacks so we could gather that. Like, okay, just a little snippet here and there into their relationships. So
half of that is probably also because he's clearly extremely in love with her as well.
Right. He's blinded by that. Yes.
Yep.
I liked that when he's making the tour of her home and remembering their time together. We've talked before about when she's kind of being a part, or she's playing a part, and she smiles a lot, and those smiles tend to be fake. Like you can just tell that they're not genuine. But I liked the flash when she's at the piano and she looks up at him and she smiles, because in my opinion, the fake ones, the smile doesn't reach her eyes, so it doesn't look real. But this one, like, her whole face was just glowing when she was smiling up at him. So that one, I could believe her in that moment with Malik.
Which kind of brings us back to, I think, it was episode 2, because we've discussed this in this group as well, when Adilah writes down the number and she says, oh, it's someone from there and there, and I think he's in love with me, and then I hope he is.
I hope he is.
That might have been a true statement for her, I guess.
I took it as true in that moment.
And also, additional note, because you said it's the first time we heard Violet, and I think it is not, because in episode 3, Malik addressed her as my Violet.
What scene was that?
I think they were on the balcony or something of his apartment or so.
Oh.
All right. At the same time, Imogen and Adilah are pulling up to a crazy, huge English estate, and out comes James Purefoy, aka Michael, one hand in his pocket, looking all posh and proper and creepy, if you don't mind me saying so. Especially when he greets Imogen with, "Hello, darling."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't like Imogen's response around him, especially in this part where it feels very timid and wanting his approval or something, but perhaps a large part of that is an act. I don't know.
Or she's just regressing to her child, like what she was with him, a 16-year-old,
Right. And that's how he treats her. Is
Mm-hmm.
more of a child than a 16-year-old, even.
Yeah.
To me. She continues being weird around him inside as Michael's pouring her a scotch, which Adilah refuses. Michael tells them that recent orders have okayed killing Imogen in the attempt to capture Adilah, but Adilah is to be kept alive. Her life is more valuable these days. I know I just said this, but he really creeps me out. Imogen wants to know when their passports will be ready and wants him to give them some space to settle in. She'll meet him in the shed for some reason. Jolly good, he says. So many cliches.
He was looking at Adilah so creepily,
yeah.
By the way, I feel like Adilah is kind of being set to the side in this episode. Don't know if anyone else thought that, but she barely has any dialogue, and it was kind of one of the frustrating things for me in this episode. I was very interested in her character, to be honest, and we're focusing a lot more on Imogen, which, I guess she's the main character, but I feel like she was definitely just kind of off to the side a bit.
In this back to the scene where we just talked about when Michael comes out, and I was really analyzing Imogen's reaction to him, because she was affected, absolutely. But what I saw too, when he starts out with "Hello, darling," and then he says, "You look perfectly frightful," and invites her inside. And when he does that, I just saw this this crushed look flash across her face, and it just made me think this is probably what their whole relationship was like. He built her up and then knocks her down,
knocked her down a
silly girl comments, and it's just that kind of told me a lot, informed a lot about their relationship, and her feelings on it is sure, there's probably moments where she was genuinely, I guess, in love with him at one point. So there's that mixed in with the complicated feelings. But it was a quick reminder, I think, to her, this is what it's like. This is what he's like.
Yeah, that was awful.
He still needs to remain in control over her, in every aspect.
Once Michael leaves the room, Imogen is all business, tells Adilah to go to the garage and get the keys to the Land Rover while she spends some much-needed time with Michael, alone with Michael. I'm hoping it's to kill him, but not sure if that decision... I presume that decision came later when she learned about the Russians. So what do you think she wanted her time alone with him at this point?
I think she just wanted to see the connection. I think she wanted to find out a little bit about the connection between her and the dad. And then she finds out more. Then she slowly learns the real truth.
Anyway, the scene can't end without another Shakespearean quote. I am as mad as he, if sad and merry madness equal be. From what else but Twelfth Night. Adilah's off on her mission when she runs into Patrick, the Irish twat. He verbally accosts Adilah, talking about remembering the smell of her people before he killed them. You can see Adilah's face change before she challenges him. Do you remember the smell of all the people you killed? It's like she's comfortable again with him reminding her who she really is and why she's done what she's done.
No, she said, do you remember the face of the innocent people you killed? Saying that she's innocent and she's just a civilian and she was the wrong place at the wrong time.
I kind of thought she was talking about innocent, like women and children.
Yeah, I don't think she was necessarily applying it to herself.
See, the whole ISIS thing doesn't set well with me because their whole regime is about subjecting like women and children to like sexual like tortures.
Yeah, I mean, she was gang raped, right?
Right, she was, but I mean, she was still ISIS before that, and then maybe she didn't like that, but she's been ISIS for 15 years, and she's a commander, and we have people saying, she killed my family. So she's done horrible things. I mean, she's killed women and children or subjected them to torture.
This is why I think that she does relate to this, like with the innocent. She does relate it to herself as well. Of course, it also means civilians and other people that get killed in wars. Yeah, of course, it's not always just the bad guys against the whatever good versus everything is gray and stuff like this. We know that, and we also know that there's a lot of collateral damage in wars. I mean, children, whatever. But I still think she completely referred to herself as well within the statement.
Personally, I think she feels she's avenging those innocent victims. I don't think that she thinks she is one of them.
Yeah, I think that's from her point of view. That's why she does what she does, or why she's done what she's done.
This is just a level of her indoctrination, then, I think. This is like how deep it actually goes.
I mean, I know this was the last episode, but the whole showdown at the gas station when they have their big fight, and was that supposed to be the moment where we find out why Adilah does what she does or why she joined? Because all I really got from that was that she feels justified because of how the West has attacked.
I don't think they delve into it like they should have.
And
that's the big disconnect for me. I'm having a hard time wondering why Imogen is so hell-bent on like this woman deserves to be free and have a happy life with her daughter when she has been a commander of ISIS for 15 years. She has committed atrocities that are heinous.
She says the only reason she didn't blow up that lobby of children and families is because the wire
didn't work.
Misplaced. It didn't go off. Right.
Yeah.
I believe that. She tried it. She would have if it had worked. She tried this switch and it didn't work.
It doesn't make sense. She didn't know otherwise.
In this episode, though, she does say after that happened, she ran.
Yeah, she's going to get in trouble for not following through.
Because she's dealing with evil people, even though it wasn't her fault.
I'm so confused, though, because is she actually a commander, though, right? Because
not then she wasn't. Not then. I think she became a commander after.
Are you sure, though? Because it's not explained very well. Because
I don't think you would have your commander martyr themselves. You need them around. I mean, she was.
You're right, Kimberly. It wasn't explained very well.
Yeah, it wasn't at all.
We've been waiting for her backstory this whole time, and it's just not explained.
And the only thing we really have that somewhat sympathizes her is her daughter. But that happened later. She had her daughter later. She still joined ISIS
before
of her own volition. Yeah. She wasn't forced into it. She says you jump off a cliff, but we never really get like anything other than, I guess, justification for what ISIS does based on retaliation for harm done to them. But that's kind of it. And it's just like the same MO that all ISIS has. There wasn't anything special about her. She wasn't kidnapped. She wasn't forced or coerced into this, I don't think, that we were told anyway.
I guess she told Imogen some things about like, oh no, it's not the men that recruit you, it's the elderly woman who promise you heaven and stuff like this. So I think still, like it kind of referred to herself probably. So this is probably a telling of how she got recruited by women herself. And then, yeah, when you're in, you're in. There was no kind of getting out again.
But what world does she not deserve prison? This is what I can't wrap my head around. Why Imogen is just like so ready to throw it all on the line.
She's trying to get her to fly to Canada and be free.
And live happily with baby. It's like, does she deserve that? This is what I'm having a hard time.
I mean, it's not about who deserves what in the end. It's about Imogen knows that she's fucking stubborn and she will not give her the name of the boat until she gets her out.
So that's just the price. They'll let her go.
And that's the price. Yeah, and that's the price she knows she needs to pay. And what she's still trying to do is like get the name out before that happens, because she actually doesn't want to do that. You know, she's always pushing us like, just tell me the name of the boat. Just tell me that I can get you out. But like Adilah is still like, no, not until I see my daughter, not until, you know.
Right. She's very transactional. Like, not until you give me what I want. She's not doing it to save anybody.
You should have let the Americans take the daughter.
I mean, that's just the fucked up thing about this world. Is like, not every bad guy or somebody who did commit crimes get what they deserve, you know?
No, but she could have let the Americans use the daughter to get the name of the ship, which she would have given them, because she doesn't want anything to happen to her daughter. I'm not saying like torture the daughter, but use the daughter.
That's the interesting part, because that's the dilemma of everything. Like, are you going to hurt a child, traumatize a child to a point of no return?
No, I'm not saying torture her. I'm just saying kidnap her. And
traumatize her.
I have her. Yeah, fine. It's better than killing thousands of other kids. Yes, absolutely.
You have to, like, to save like thousands of people. What else are you going to do? The kid's going to live.
I mean, Imogen did the same thing the Americans did. I don't think the Americans were going to hurt the child either.
No,
they were just going to use her as leverage.
Right.
But apparently Abdillah's end goal was that it has to be my child and me, not just my child's safety.
But she doesn't deserve that. And so Imogen shouldn't have taken her along on this fucking ride, because she deserves prison for what she's done.
The child deserves to be raised by the auntie or whoever, but I don't know if Adilah deserves to just, hi, I did all this bad stuff and now here we are, living in bliss.
And now for Max and Malik's road trip. Max wants to download on Malik. Official story is that Michael Althorpe was a lower-level diplomat, worked for Imogen's dad, and basically went off the radar on his fancy estate with his old rich money after his friend, Imogen's dad, died. He volunteers that Imogen was in love with him, and Max tries to cheer him up, telling him that he's way hotter than that dude, which is sweet. And Malik thanks him cutely. I like them. Anyway, back in the shed, Imogen finds all the files of all the people involved in this little scheme. Lots of pictures of her and Adilah together, and even the book of prizes. Not only that, but she looks in the shredder, that's good spy work for once, and finds documents in Russian that have been recently shredded. It's all coming together now. Michael comes in now, explains all of this by telling Imogen he's been watching over her like a guardian angel. He further explains he and his other rich friends are looking to capitalize on the world spiraling. Sounds like they're trying to use this attack that they've allegedly planned to reestablish their footing in the world, the footing of the rich aristocrats who are so out of style these days. He's a little bit disappointed in her, in fact. Obviously, his approval is something that she has sought for much of her life, but she takes it okay, and he invites her to dinner. He missed her so. Ick. Also ick, she tells him he's always with her, his voice in her head.
Did you guys notice that every single previous flashback that we had of Michael was from this episode?
Yes, flash forwards, most of them. Adilah's holding her daughter's doll, looking out a window, and she sees the asshole chauffeur again. Ick. And Imogen makes a call to one of her dedicated agents, tells him to find another way to get them passports. Michael may not work out. She asks Adilah if she's ever seen any Russian involvement in this, and the answer to that is yes. The Polish dude was Russian, in fact. Imogen tells her that they're behind this whole thing, using ISIS as pawns in their ploy for revenge against the U.S. Adilah insists none of that means anything to her. The only reason she did any of this was to be with her daughter. Imogen begs her for the name of the ship, but Adilah refuses, only when she sees Yasmina. Imogen asks if Amir is Yasmina's father, which we were wondering, and we were correct on that guess. He is not. It turns out Yasmina's father was one of the men that gang raped her after she failed at the bombing and ran away. Doesn't matter who the father is, though, does it? And Imogen agrees, because obviously Michael is the father of her daughter. And we never learn what happened to her daughter either, just that Imogen misses her every day.
So Adilah failed with the bombing. She tried to run away because it failed. She got gang raped by ISIS men. And then we're supposed to believe after that is when she became a commander?
I believe so, sometime after that.
I don't know, I'm a bit confused. I still don't.
How did she rise in the ranks?
How did she rise in the ranks? Why is she commander?
It's interesting how any woman is a ISIS commander. So the way they see women, they don't see them as leaders, I wouldn't think.
Right, but you can disguise better. Like you can fly under the radar.
Yeah, it's not inaccurate. There are women.
Especially if you have a kid.
There are women.
And the kid, like Yasmina, is leverage they have over her now.
Mm-hmm.
Probably also when they realize that she's really smart and ahead of a lot of those playing guys, maybe.
Mm-hmm. They
were not dumb enough to not use that for their goals, I guess.
I just, there's so many things that I need tied up. Like, why did they let her child then be raised by the aunt? Like, how did she get her out? Mm-hmm. There's so many things I'm like
so many
confused
questions
about.
Yeah.
Why does she have to do this one thing? Like, she's so high up and so influential and one of the biggest baddies women of ISIS. Why can't she just do what she wants to do and be with her daughter? Why has she have to do this one thing? Meanwhile, by the way, why does she need the detonator?
That part's insane.
Mm-hmm.
This does not make any sense to me. The dude can just have the detonator on him.
Right.
I know.
First of all, I don't even know if you can detonate bombs from across an ocean. But even if you can, why would you give it, like, at this point, she's literally been with a British spy for over a week now.
I already think she's
they're like, no, she needs to be the one to do it. It's such bullshit. It's so crazy.
I know. I'm so confused. I just need to know what happened. After she had that baby and that 10 years from, because what, Yasmin is about 10, right?
Mm-hmm. She's 10, yeah.
So there are 10 years there that she's been with ISIS.
So Adilah is not the commander of commanders. She's a special commander. She's the Jinn al-Raqqa. So I think the reason she became the Jinn is like because she excelled in that particular mission, quote unquote.
She excelled at genocide?
Yeah, the Raqqa genocide is very unknown in the Western world, I guess. I didn't know about that. I read up on it and I was like, oh my God, they
cleansed them.
Yeah, they cleansed
out of the
them.
area.
They killed them in. They tried to, or like they forced women and children to convert to the Islamic belief.
Mm-hmm.
And if she was behind that operation and she led it, and she became a legend because of this operation.
They did say that the 6 women that identified her said that she was giving orders to the men in Raqqa. So.
Yes. So she'd done some pretty bad things. But we're supposed to be okay with that because she's a mom, right? Right? Is that it though? It's okay now that she's a mom and she loves a daughter.
That's all they gave us.
Right? So we're supposed to be like, that's why Imogen's like, I just think you're a fantastic mommy and you deserve to be with your child. I don't care that you killed other mothers' children. You deserve yours. Let's fight to get you to Canada.
I know.
I can't do it, people.
I agree.
They could have and should have, but they didn't.
They could have layered it so great.
Could you have explained maybe that she was working against them from the inside, or in a freaking flashback they could do it?
She seems pretty timid, don't you think?
I agree. It's weird with Amir. And the other thing that's odd about Amir is, remember when he said you're trying to look like her or something when she was at the club, the way that she had her hair or something to that effect?
Uh-huh.
Who was that about? What does that mean?
Yeah, I wondered that too.
Yeah, she was dressed up like Imogen.
Oh, she was trying to look Western.
Yeah.
Like Imogen, like not covered up.
She believed that she was being influenced by Imogen, and she was, he said this has to stop.
Yeah, because they're under strict Sharia law if you're under the Islamic
he wouldn't normally
State.
see her hair. Yeah.
They have no rights.
So this whole plan was organized by Michael, who's working with the Russians, who then the Russians worked with ISIS. So they sent Adilah to the refugee camp. Then MI6 sent Imogen to the refugee camp, did MI6 have anything to do with this, or was that just a huge coincidence?
They're just the intelligence. And she's working with the DGSC because she's French.
Yeah.
And they're French.
But if Michael's pulling all the strings, and, later we learn her dad, but whatever. If Michael's pulling all the strings, why would he have Imogen sent in unless he knows she's a shitty spy?
Sorry.
Maybe that's the whole point.
Because she's being used by French and the Americans, not the dad, like the Russian.
Yeah, but also he knows her, how she operates so well. Maybe that's the reason why probably he knew all what she would do before she even thought about doing it.
Right, because he made her. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that what you just said, Kate? If Michael wanted the mission to be successful and he knew how good Imogen was, why would he choose her to be sent?
Yeah, he would keep her out of it. He would find a different mission for her.
The bomb doesn't go off in the end like he wants it to.
Right.
Now we get an update on the ship of sorts. Amir looks nervous. He's praying with his prayer beads as the deadline inches closer and the ship slices through the water towards its U.S. destination. After all, they are going to the U.S. in 2 days. I'm not sure how, but they are. Imogen opens dinner, inquiring why Michael hasn't fired his asshole chauffeur. In fact, Michael values his hatred. It's quite valuable. Michael's just happy she still trusts him, and the name, again, is Violet. He's using it. Imogen mocks him, which is enjoyable. Silly girl. He can tell she's itching for a fight, so he asks her why she came back, and she gets to the point. She wants the truth about her dad. He was a traitor, wasn't he? Michael tries to condescend to her again, and thankfully she finally orders him to shut the fuck up. She's not done yet. Michael was his protege, but he went beyond her father to a place of no conscience, she states. And Michael confirms that by further detailing his reasoning behind helping this attack along. Where there's chaos, there's opportunity. You have to encourage the darkness so that rich assholes can be in charge again. God, he is such a condescending prick. He even sounds like he's talking to a child when he tells her he's still in love with her. It's so gross. He talks about their daughter. She would have been 10, and Imogen remembers her face every day. He uses that as an opening to kiss her. Ick. He tells her he'll take care of her again. Ew. He would be into that. And then he brings her dad into it, which is weird. Says they're so proud. Sounds like present tense. That was weird. Of her shining intelligence. He says there was one thing her dad didn't get a chance to teach her. What does that mean? That's not sex, right? What does that mean?
What?
Wait. Did they explain that? Because I have no idea what he meant.
I don't know either. Yeah, he kisses her again. This time her eyes are creepily open. And it's obvious what she's planning when she asks if it's still in her room and tells him she'd meet him there. I don't know why she broke the vase on the way. Isn't he going to walk by that and know something's up? If he didn't already. I thought
she was going to throw up in the vase, actually. When she was walking out, my first thought was that she was going to throw up in the vase, and then she broke it.
I guess she was mad that he lied to her or something.
I mean, I get why. I just mean logically it doesn't make sense to do it. Hold it in for another hour.
We got so many callbacks from previous episodes with his lines like silly girl and
well, that was the same line. Honestly, that was the same shot.
And can you remember her name and stuff like this? And it's it makes me feel so uncomfortable because it's like indoctrination to me. Like hearing the same lines all over again, it's like a tune in your head that reprograms your brain.
Yeah, that's probably what he's doing. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It's indoctrination. And so it's I know which switches I need to push with her so she will do whatever. To make her remember our time or whatever.
Make her regress back to when he had full control over her.
I don't know if it totally works, but when she does say the thing to him in the shed about you're always with me, and she says I hear your voice in my head, but what we saw her remember was the condescension, the silly girl. We even though it's not, as it turns out, it wasn't a memory, but I'm sure the way that she played it out in the dining room, this was something he said to her over and over again.
Of course, yeah.
So it's definitely part of their MO from before, and so, but to me, I think it's like you said, it's like his voice is in her head, but it's not what he's hoping it is. It's not
anymore.
Not anymore. Yeah. No, she sees it for what it was now.
She saw through it now.
Yeah, she knows he's a traitor now.
like especially those two lines pushed her to change her strategy, because she kind of realized, okay, he's resorting back to the old times where he just needed to say those little things, and I would, do whatever he wants.
Let him think that it's working again. Let him think it's working. Yeah.
That whole scene, they're both just playing each other like a fiddle.
The getting shit done music starts again as Adilah gets a text from Amir. Please confirm that God's will be done at 8 a.m. And he promises to take care of Yasmina. She goes about putting the pieces of a phone together while Max and Malik run to the house in the dark outside. Asshole chauffeur gets his weapon ready. Max and Malik break into the house. Imogen's sitting on the bed topless with her arms across her chest as she stares up at the red dress and eventually takes it down. Adilah's building a detonator. Imogen's rubbing the red dress against her face, and the boys are searching the house for the girls, all during this music. Psycho chauffeur still arming himself, and then he's getting jumped and stabbed by Adilah in the dining room. Not enough, though. Max enters the room, gun in hand, promises not to hurt Adilah, and as he puts his gun down and slowly rises with his hands in the air to negotiate with her, he's suddenly back on the ground. The fucking chauffeur managed to shoot him, despite his many previous stabbings.
The chauffeur guy, Patrick or whatever his name is, was going in to kill Adilah, is that right?
Yeah. He goes into the room, but she's already left.
Which is weird. It's so weird to me. Is it weird to y'all?
No, because Michael wants the bomb to go off, so if he prevents Adilah from telling Imogen the name of the boat.
But she has the detonator.
Yeah, that's what I mean. She's the one who gets the bomb to go off.
Someone else could just steal the detonator and push it, right?
Right. Yeah, he probably doesn't know that.
I mean, like, maybe this is also like a big question mark I had in my notes, is when later, when they stormed the ship they were on, and Emir is trying to set up the bomb manually, is he also going to make it explode, or is he just like...
Thought he was trying to.
Or is he just like, okay, I need to make this ready now so it can be detonated, because he also needs to...
No, he knew the jig was up.
Yeah, I think 8 has come and gone, and he knows she's not going to detonate it. And possibly he knows that they're boarding the boat at that point, too.
Yeah,
But if this option was available from the start, why we need a detonator?
Well, he didn't know what to do. He was staring at it cluelessly.
Yeah, this is like the weirdest thing for me, because like Patrick should be on Michael's side, yeah.
He has his personal issues with her, though. I mean, that he made clear.
Yeah, he literally just hated her. Like, he had this huge hatred of Adilah, like the moment he set eyes on her, and I think he literally wanted to kill her.
Yeah, he did. He hated her.
So do you think he does not know about the plan?
Yeah, I don't think he knows that she has the detonator.
I don't know if he knows of the whole plan too much. He just hates Adilah. He hates ISIS. He knows she's the commander.
If it's that setup, I'm okay with it, because I thought, like, because Michael said he's so trustworthy and he sent everybody else away except for him. Like, he probably knows things about the Russian ISIS plot and stuff. So I was like confused why he would try to kill the person who's supposed to like set the whole plan in motion.
My guess is that he only knew that she was, this commander, and she would know what the ship was, and Imogen was trying to get that out of her. It's funny, I actually wrote June in my next notes because of the red dress, I guess.
Oh my God. Well, their whole play there, it's a ritual they do, right? It's ritualistic.
Yes, it is. Creepy.
Oh, that gave me the creeps. I was like, and the way she turned towards the record player was so like, ew, it was like robotic. Like, this is their routine. This is their like you said, ritual. He says begin. She turns to the record player. In this backdrop, I found that My Funny Valentine song really creepy. And then she plays the song, she pours the drink, she takes it over to them, they share the drink. It all felt like, like ritualized weird seduction stuff.
Right before that, though, the scene, when she's walking in the red dress, at least she looks like a little stronger there. It's like she's wearing it as armor. Like, where the dress pull the strings, Handmaid-esque. But then when she gets to the bedroom, she's all timid and doing everything. As he's expecting, because that's her thing.
I don't think it's that timid, and I don't think it's like falling back in her.
No, I mean, it's an act.
It's an act, yeah.
She's not, she isn't really falling back. She's going through the motions. It's all an act. She's playing him. She's leading him by the dick is what I kept saying when I was watching it.
It's creepy though to think like they've probably been doing this since she was 16.
Yeah.
But yes, they're both, yes. So they dance a little, the music gets all discordy, so we know something's up. And she straddles him. They're kissing right before she pulls her knife and demands he tell her the name of the ship. Alas, she brought a knife to a gunfight. And it's possible Michael's right. We never find out. He laughs and tells her she doesn't have it in her and never has. He apologizes to her, presumably because he's about to shoot her, when there's a gunshot, but it's not his gun, it's Malik's, Imogen's current boyfriend, killing her predator previous boyfriend. Imogen takes a moment to let it all sink in, but then she's back on the job again, barely pausing to put a grateful hand on Malik and tell him she's got to go get to Adilah. I felt bad for Malik. I feel like Malik had kind of like he shot him and then he had this like facial expression that was like, oh, is that okay?
No single hero moment for him.
No. I think he was torn by it. I don't know what his connection with Michael is, but in the previous episodes, he seems to know Michael.
It sounded like she told him all about him.
Right.
Yeah.
And all he knows is he sees him with a gun to her head. He doesn't know anything else really. And he was, I believe when I rewatched it, because at first I was like, well, maybe from Imogen's side, she'd say, oh, Michael would never kill me. But he says, what does he say in the scene?
I would have wished it wouldn't have come to this or
something that indicates he was about to do it. Like he's sorry, but he was
sorry, my darling, or something like that.
Yeah, he was going to do it. So Malik did the right thing, I think. But I can see him feeling conflicted because he's not a monster. but he also loves Imogen, and she at one time loved this man that's a creepy predator. I don't know. It's very complicated.
Yeah, it sucks for him. The music I like is back as Imogen runs to the car. Adilah looks incredibly grateful to see her, and Imogen peels out. The gate's locked, Adilah opens it, and Imogen looks at her genuinely happy, like she knows Adilah's chosen the right side now, just before Adilah's shot and instantly killed. Whodunit? The fucking asshole chauffeur, to stop her from stopping the plot, or simply because he hates her? Feels like it was simply because he's a bigot to me.
I feel like it was just hate.
Yeah. Imogen storms into the house to seek her vengeance and makes him turn around before she shoots him multiple times. Malik comes out then, but Imogen turns and heads back to her dead friend. She's crying and holding Imogen's hand when she notices the windshield. Back in the beginning, Adilah's written on the windshield. But this time it's the name of the ship. She helped Imogen in the end after all, and the attack is thwarted.
I've got to shout out to this old bloke who got stabbed multiple times. Pretty sure he got shot.
Old bloke.
He's like Rasputin.
Yeah. He's like a Terminator.
The sniper in the exact right spot, and he killed her. I mean,
he's not that old though. Is he like 40, babe?
He's like my age, Kimberly. Give me a break.
I know. Same.
Regardless, he is invincible and very impressive that he managed.
Some young man managed to kill. Give props to him, seriously. Props.
Yeah, he was he seemed down and out after the stabbing, but not at all.
Did he get shot as well or just stabbed?
I don't think so. Just stabbed, but stabbed a lot.
He shot Max in the back. And then he sniper shot at Adilah.
Right. And Amir is also shot as he tries to figure out how to manually detonate the bomb that he must now understand she clearly has decided not to detonate. Dead by morning as planned.
This whole ship thing seemed like a massive afterthought. We had one tiny, 2-second scene. It was very anticlimactic.
Yeah, it's pretty funny when the whole show is leading up to everything, this attack, and then it's just an afterthought to everything that happens at the manor. And also, how did the ship get to America in 2 days from Paris?
Marseille, not Paris.
Marseille. But I really thought that their way out of that was to go to London and say, oh, we've been tricking you all along.
How did Emir get to Marseille during that time frame? And then the ship got to America.
He either has what do they call it? Teleporter. Like he could have a teleporter to get himself on the ship. And because he had been, where was the Imogen supposed to have been stabbed? Was that when they were still in Paris?
Yeah.
And then because that episode too, like he was
at Adilah's grandfather's house.
Actually, right? But you see Amir there, and you see him in a car, and then I don't know, a scene or two later, he's on the ship. And then in this episode, I thought you saw him off ship, and then you see him on ship. And I know there are ways to do that, but
I mean, you could go from Paris to Marseille, if you had a TGV.
But wasn't the ship already on the water? I mean, it wasn't still docked.
I mean, yeah, it does not make sense that from Marseille it goes to the US eastern border within 2 days. I don't know how it
They already told us.
takes.
They already told us it takes like 7 to 10 days or something at the very beginning.
That was not from the French.
Where's Marseille anyway? Where is that?
Marseille is on the southern coast of France.
Okay, so it's still in France.
It's in France, yes.
It's frustrating that there's not really any time that pass is established. Like,
right. I think that's what's lacking.
Yeah.
Like, I think people will really, like, a lot of people will like the show, but then there'll be people who, need more to kind of, reconcile with how it all went down and why. Because I'm still like, there's too many plot holes for me to give it like an A. I think it could have been there if we just knew a little bit more about Adilah. If they just threw in some flashbacks, maybe she was changing her ways. I don't know, because I don't feel like she was worthy of all this.
Yeah.
I would have been satisfied with it, like just in any other spy movie or something is like in the top corner of any screen is like written date or a time or whatever. So you could at least, okay, that much time had passed, that much time,
Right. I just think we needed more.
Well, and like Kimberly said, the whole mission, the actual point of all of this on the boat and the detonate, all that stuff seemed to feel like an afterthought. It just sort of petered out at the end. It didn't feel like a victory. It didn't feel like we were really like racing towards the finish. I don't know.
There was no like, woohoo, we did it. Like, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we would have, like, it would have been great to know what they were thwarting, like exactly what their goal was. Like, okay, we're going to go and we're going to blow it up in this port and annihilate women and children because we want to return to the golden age or whatever the fuck.
That's Michael's motivation.
That's their motivation. But how would this bring forth the golden age?
Yeah.
If they had their plan and it went through, what was supposed to be the end result?
Like the end result was basically that Michael thought that blaming the ISIS for that kind of attack against.
Well, and it's going to start a war, right?
World war.
Aren't we already at war against ISIS? Kind of. I mean, we don't like them.
But it's not like 9/11. I mean,
it's not have been that high of the stakes.
And then that will usher in the golden age. Okay, interesting.
As far as bombs and shows like this go, usually there is like a lot of build up. You think it's about to
the countdown.
Explode.
You see the numbers counting down. You don't have a remote detonator.
Build up.
You have people you're worried that are going to be in harm's way. Usually you have
see the people that are going to be
in harm's way.
That's right.
And you're like, oh my God, stop it.
Yeah, that feeling of foreboding, like, oh, we got to stop this thing. That was lost.
Yes.
That wasn't there. We were so mixed up in Michael and Violet Imogen. We were just so mixed up in that for the majority of this very long episode.
Right.
And then what happened to Sabine? Is she Sabine? Like somebody?
I wonder too, was there actually a Sabine at all, or was that just always Adilah as two identities? I don't know.
In general, I just think they couldn't really decide on what they actually wanted to do.
I think it was a good premise, and it could have been great if they just were able to, fill in all the plot holes.
All right, back in the mansion, they're wheeling out dead bodies, but we quickly learn one of them is not Max. Yay. And Malik is going to arrange for Adilah to be buried next to her grandfather. Malik tries to get Imogen to come with him, but she tells him she needs another minute. And good thing she does, because what a revelation comes next. She finds an envelope addressed to Sebastian Ilaria, residing at the Woodland Cottage on the grounds. Obviously, her father immediately pops into our heads, and she starts walking, visibly shaken, and probably terrified to have her heart broken again. I like that some of the shots, we discussed it already, but I like that some of the shots were actually flash forwards. It was surprising. It was indeed her walking through the trees, but in the future. A car is pulling out of the cottage when she approaches. Was that supposed to be him?
I think so.
Yeah? Either way, inside, she immediately says, "Hi, Dad," and starts exploring the room. The Tempest on top of his books, of course. She smells his coat, and then she says, "You escaped our life." She finds a postcard. Apparently he's enjoyed a holiday in Greece with a woman named Anna, and finds a childhood drawing by herself. To the room, she says she knew he was alive. She felt it, but how could a father possibly abandon his child like that? Reminiscent of the question she asked Adilah earlier. He has file after file on her, photos of her and of her aliases' passports. To the room again, she says, "You watched me become 100 strangers. You were behind the entire thing, weren't you, Dad? You are a traitor. And not just to them, you were a traitor to me, and I will never, ever forgive you for that." And then a Shakespeare quote to round out the scene. "Hell is empty and all the devils are here." And then she walks back through the field with an expression that's maybe supposed to be, I don't know, feeling freedom or lighter. I don't know what you guys thought of that.
I think so. I think all of this was very liberating and freeing for her. I think she's carried around it a lot since her father's death and all the toxic stuff that she carries around with Michael. And I think all of these events, good and bad, have helped to let her let go, let it all go. Because I think finding out too the truth about her father, she'd had suspicions, I think, in the back of her mind about his allegiances and maybe he was a traitor, but it was confirmed.
We did too, by the way, in episode 4, if you go back. And I think Kate was the one who said, like, at any time when there's no body to bury.
Yeah, and I think that was always unresolved for her. It never made sense to her that there wasn't a body in the casket. There was nothing to bury. All those comments. So, and I think sort of like getting that out in the room. She didn't have a face-to-face confrontation with him, but like she's like she doesn't let him off the hook. He was a traitor, and not just against them, but against her. And I think confronting all of that just helped her let it go, and so she can like move on. And I also wanted to talk about in the first episode podcast, Kate, you mentioned how the Portia and Imogen names were taken from also Shakespeare plays. There's tons of Shakespeare in this show. So when she was going through the passports, I was looking up the names of the other names that she'd been under before. And there were still more Shakespeare parallels there too, because I couldn't find an Emily, but there was an Amelia in Othello. And then there's an Olivia in Twelfth Night. And she uses Amelia twice for 2 of her names, one in a middle name, one in a first name, one in a middle name. And then there's a Julia in The Two Gentlemen of Verona. And the last name, Julia Alexis Moore, this one, when I looked up Moore, that's how they referred to Othello in Othello as a Black man. So I thought that was really interesting. And I have another comment about the names, but I'll save that till the very end.
As you mentioned, the Shakespearean influence on the names just now. Like what caught my eye is like the name on the envelope, like the Sebastian.
Oh, sure, the Sebastian Illyria.
Yeah,
because Sebastian is Viola's twin brother's name.
That's how she knew it was her dad.
Yeah, exactly. This is like when she immediately clocked it, because as you said, Sebastian was the twin brother, but Illyria was usually known to scholars as a region in the western part of Balkan Peninsula, but is also a fictional reign of 12 knights. So
yeah,
I just want to say I fucking hate her dad so much, mostly for letting her be in a relationship with fucking Michael, like,
and knowing about it, like, and knowing. I mean, obviously they were
forget abandoning her, right? But letting her.
I think Marcus and Michael were always in touch. He was sending the dad info. Ooh. Probably pictures of the granddaughter. Ooh.
Well, he's been part of setting this whole thing up too, which I still don't get. I don't think anyone can make me understand the whole.
Was that the dad too?
Yes.
Who drove off from the villa? like Druva from the Cottage.
Why are they setting up Imogen to do all this? I don't know.
They're really fucked up human beings. I mean, like really, really fucked up.
No, I think they get off on it. Like, look at the little spy we created. Like, I mean,
God, it's gross. And one of them is fucking her, and the other one's fine with it, and it's his dad. Oh.
I think like isn't it more like a spy on a spy on the spy situation? Like the dad is still kind of controlling Michael because he has been his mentor and he forged him. And he faked his death many years ago, but he's still operating from within, and he's living in the small cottage. But he still has reach to Michael because it's on his property, and he's his mentor, so he's controlling whatever he does because there's so much trust and there's so much mentorship and fathership and everything of this involved that Michael basically just does whatever the father says. And so actually it's not like Michael does not know what Marcus does, but they are like connected. Like basically Michael is just getting the things from Marcus, I thought, and he's behind all of those things.
Yeah, he's like the puppet master.
And in the end, Marcus needed to sell this, I don't know, well, we need to throw the world into chaos because of, I don't know, make it for the rich again. But in the end, he was still this plain Russian spy working for the Russians and wanted to push the Russian agenda. And that's all there was to it. This was what I took from it. I don't know. You probably have the better explanation.
I don't. I'm like, somebody explain it to me.
All right. And then Imogen is sending Yasmina and her aunt off at the airport to Canada, where she promises them they'll be safe. And then she's looking at the departures board, asking for a new name. She's not bothered which one this time. I guess she's let go of this Shakespeare thing. And then she's off, presumably to either Tokyo, Milan, Athens, or Nice. And my vote is Athens because of the postcard at her dad's cottage. He also had a book called Shakespeare in Greece.
Yeah, like the Ilaria thing is kind of close to the Greece border as well. Because the book she found in his cottage, The Tempest, is about a father and his daughter, like especially a father who was the Duke of Milan, who got usurped by his brother, and he needs to exile to an island on his own, kind of.
Like the cottage.
Yeah, like the cottage.
But also, I think emotionally, she's let go of her emotional ties or sentimental ties to her father. I liked how now she says, "What's my new name?" because she doesn't need to hold on to those connections anymore. They can give her a new identity and she can do her job, but she's not connecting it to all that with her father anymore. And maybe it's still connected to her father if she's trying to go find him, but it's more like driven by herself.
Do we think there'll be a Veil season 2?
I think they wanted to.
They wanted to. There was a setup. She went on the plane, and if it gets popular, they will do the season 2 where she hunts for her father.
Yeah. Other things like Max's like Morocco reference. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's things that weren't explained so that they could explain them in season 2. I mean, they definitely didn't state we're gonna go for season 2, but I think it's obvious with how they set up the ending. And
the production values, cinematography, and everything was really good.
Yeah, it has potential, like a lot of potential. If they could just fill in the gaps and, do more world building. Like, I really need to care for these people. I really need to feel like, oh gosh, they got to stop that bomb. Look at these people that, they just have, it could have been really great if they just, a few things, a little tweak here and there. Maybe it was too short and they just couldn't tell us what we needed to. Perhaps if they were all an hour, we could have gotten what we needed out of it. World building is where it lacked.
That was my big problem with the finale, was that you build up all these things about Adilah, especially, and like we were saying before, the ship was a complete afterthought, and it honestly felt like her storyline was also an afterthought in that final episode. It was more obviously focused on Michael and Imogen and her dad, and I didn't care as much about that as I did about knowing about Adilah's backstory and what was going on with her. Like, would have rather it have just been about that.
Me too.
You know, what they were trying to do in the first place was this whole attack, right? And that was from the beginning. That's what she was there to do. And yeah, it was just kind of plopped into nothing kind of in the last episode.
Yeah, I did need them to maybe let me feel more about Adilah. So I would want her to be reunited and free with her daughter. So I could see where Imogen was coming from. Like I needed that. So I needed that component. Like otherwise I'm like, if they're not going to tell me, I really don't care about this lady, I guess. Like when she died, I was kind of like, okay, well, all right. When I want to be like, oh my God, they made it so far and now she dies and doesn't get her kid. Oh no. I was like, well, I don't know if she deserved to live. So, okay.
Yes.
I will say that I really enjoyed the whole production value of the show. The cinematography, the directing, the music, everything I thought was beautiful. The whole
the package,
Turkey, the locations in Paris, the locations in London, the makeup, the hair, the costumes, everything was perfect. It's just that I did really have after the first 3 episodes, I was really hoping that those last 3 would really tie things together, and I think they really could have. I just think they fell short at the end.
I agree.
The other thing they dropped completely was the gin theme, because that was something that really interested me in the very beginning. And I kind of thought like towards the end, like the last 2 episodes dropped it completely. And I was sort of hoping it would sort of lead to, I don't know, more operatives or something like that, all tied in with that. Plus, I thought there might have been something within the gin or the book of surprises that led to whatever cracked the final, discovery of the ship name, or I don't know. I just thought it would tie in more towards the end, and it just was completely dropped off.
All right, that's a wrap on our discussions of The Veil. Come back soon for the next show we're doing, which we have yet to determine, but we will announce soon. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.